I've revamped the show to make it a whole lot more exciting for you, and I want to tell you about the new Blacks with Power right now. All right, y'all, welcome to Blacks with Power. This is the show where we help you emancipate yourselves from mental slavery so that you can lead the movement of Jah people, leaving Babylon and going to our Father's land. Welcome, I am Father Jabril Ballantine. Good to be back with you. You know, it has been a long time. I've been on a hiatus. Some of you may know that recently published a book, Black Power. You can see it right there, our God-given call to make America great. It is available for you on Amazon. You can find it at jawbread.com/Black Power and get more information about it there. But, you know, I've been gone as I was publishing that and getting it edited and finalized and doing all of that stuff behind the scenes with that book. Just kind of diverted my attention away from the show for a little while, but getting back into it, had to revamp things just to make sure that you get what you need when you need it, and I can uphold my end of the bargain, right? Because that's important. And so it's very important as we talk about emancipating ourselves from mental slavery, right? You know, y'all know I was Rastafarian for a little while, for quite some time actually. And man, Bob Marley, man, I wrote a couple papers in seminary actually on Bob Marley. But Bob Marley was an amazing man, amazing theologian. So when we talk about that exodus, that movement of Jah people, right, and getting us out of Babylon, that mystical Babylon, that place that is oppressive, that holds you down, and leaving Babylon and going to the Father's land. In order for us to do that, we must have that redemption song, another Bob Marley song, where we must emancipate ourselves from mental slavery, for none but ourselves can free our minds, right? And so, it kind of brought things into focus as I published the book and just, diving deep into the theology that is behind all of this, that we reframe the show. That we got to reframe the show and focus on those things and talk about those things that will help us as a people emancipate ourselves from mental slavery, free us from the mental chains, the post-traumatic slave syndrome, if you will, and enable those of us who have been called by God into leadership positions to lead the movement of Jah people, the movement of God's people out of Babylon into the promised land, so that as Dr. King proclaimed, we as a people would indeed get to the promised land. So, as I break free from all of the fears and everything that prevented me, that made it this long, between when I actually began researching the book and actually finishing it and actually publishing it, it just doubles down on that mission that we must break free from white supremacy. And so this book is the foundational part of that for me, y'all. It's a decades worth of work, right? And so a lot of research went into it. Yes, I am a priest, a theologian, and yes, it is a religious work. It is a theological work. It is a fundamentally Christian work. It is a fundamentally African work, because my theology is rooted in Ethiopian Orthodoxy. Hence why you see the flag everywhere, and the red, gold, and green, right? And the tributes to Ethiopia. And it's also, my Egyptian self, not just for my fraternity, but Egypt being Africa, Egypt being, one of the oldest Christian nations. Don't get it twisted, because it's Arab now and it's Muslim now, but historically one of the greatest seas of Christianity, one of the greatest seats of Christianity, is the Egyptian Orthodox Church, the Coptic Church in Alexandria, where the creed was written, where the deep theology was birthed, where monasticism was birthed. It is a deeply African work, back to my book, a deeply African work, a deeply Christian work, and I truly believe transformative for how it is that we as a people embrace power. There's so many controversial dynamics about black power and what it means, right? And you see all these notions of, hating whitey and all that kind of stuff, right? And many of us who have something to lose are afraid. We might hear black power, we might on the fringes, but we don't really want to embrace it because we don't want to make it seem like we're posing a threat to whitey, whatever that means, right? But a completely different take on black power, understanding the effects of white supremacy and the damage that it has done to humanity, to the world, to the environment, so on and so forth. That what has to happen is similar to what happened in the story of Joseph in the Bible. Joseph, who was sold into slavery. That what has to happen is that we have to reframe what is the righteous and godly use of power, and that comes from in the American context, in the Western context, that understanding comes from the black experience under white supremacy, right? And so, when we talk about blacks with power, and I've said to you many a time that the idea is that blacks who find themselves in a position of power would enable themselves, would equip themselves to be agents of change, to overthrow white supremacy. And so, what we need to do is reframe the way that we approach issues of race, issues of justice, issues of reconciliation, what it means to be beloved community. And so, I want to focus on that through the rest of the season. That's another thing. Kind of revamp the show as well to be seasons, right? Because I've been doing a lot of speaking as well and traveling, and so haven't had time to actually work on shows and develop them and edit them and so on and so forth. So shifting to a season model, right? So now we're starting the spring season of the show, and next we'll go to the fall season of the show. I'm doing something interesting with this season that I am trying to follow a theme. So some foundational principles of black power, of what it is and how you embrace it, right? So there won't be a lot of interviews in this season. I think there's only one interview. I got to check the schedule again, but a lot of this will be me unpacking for you these foundational principles of black power so that we can understand what it is we are talking about when we talk about embracing black power and how black power comes to play in society. So, what we will be looking to do is change the narrative on how we as black people engage with American society, engage with the issues of race. Because in order for us to dismantle white supremacy, we have to do things differently, right? That we have to acknowledge that the way we've been engaging with white society, with American society thus far, has not put the nail in the coffin, so to speak, of white supremacy. And so in order for us to do that, right, we have to get intentional about breaking free, intentional about dismantling white supremacy. And so part of that is why we're revamping the show. And so it's going to be more focused, y'all. The show is going to be a lot more focused on, tools and step-by-steps on what needs to happen in order for you to break free from white supremacy, so that you're never in that space of feeling like you have to go along in order to get along, wherever you are in your workplace, wherever you are in your professional life, wherever you are in your community life, that you have to bite your tongue in order to keep what you have, or that you have to go along to get along so that you don't become ostracized. What we're talking about is embracing a power structure where you can take off that mask of double consciousness and be who you are at all times, in all places, because who you are is created in the image of God, right? And so who you are is who the world needs you to be if we are to get to the promised land. And so I encourage you to tune in regularly, subscribe to the show. We're on iTunes, on YouTube, on Stitcher, on Google Play, on TuneIn, wherever you find your podcast. You can join the Facebook group. As we revamp the show, we'll also be revamping the Facebook group to get more laser focused on how you and I can better serve the purpose of overcoming white supremacy. You can find the Facebook group at blackswithpower.com/Facebook. Because we are so intentional about what we do in that group, I have an application for you to fill out. So you fill that out. Just it's not like rocket science, right? It's a couple questions about your commitment, about your ideas, just so that we want people with ideas in this group, right? And so this is not just a spectator group, right? This is an ideas group. So, I'm gonna ask you some questions about your ideas, and then you get into the group and you start hashing it out, and we start shaping thought and revamping thought together, right? So that, we can become the people that we were created to become for the life of the world. And again, check out the book, Black Power, Our God-Given Call to Make America Great, because I believe, and want you to come to believe, that the Lord has positioned us where we are in this country, in our lives, because he has given us this charge to keep, that we are the ones that will make America great, right? That we are the ones that will forge the country along towards a more perfect union, towards becoming beloved community. And so, ask you to visit jobbread.com/Black Power. You can find out more about the book. You can learn how to order your copy, and then, want to hear from you and as we unpack the ideas that are in that book, and as you reflect upon your response to those ideas in that book, so that we indeed can shape society in the way that it should be shaped. A charge to keep we have, brothers and sisters, a God to glorify, a never dying soul to save and fit it for the sky. We have come a long way. Yes, don't let no one tell you. We as a people have indeed accomplished a great deal, but we ain't there yet. So let us march on till victory is won. Live with power.